something that he didn't create. And I'll explain to you this what I mean. Revelation means to uncover. It's not bringing out something that didn't exist. It's bringing out something that exists, uncovering something. So it's even more important than what I'm about to tell you now. I tell you, you have a kidney, 2 kidneys. You can't see those kidneys. You have to have faith in the doctor, that the doctor tell you you have kidneys. So the doctor reveals some things to you that you don't know. But he's revealing to you what God put there. The doctor tells you you have 2 lungs. You might not notice, you might not believe it, or maybe you've never seen this. So science is revealing to the human being these things that he has in him. I'm talking about the physical body and science. More importantly, this is what religion is for. This is what Quran is for. This is what Scripture is for. To reveal to the human being those wonderful things that God has placed in him for his development. Now, you may ask the question, as I have been asked on many occasions, well, if God is so perfect, why is the world in such a bad shape? Why we have so many wars? Why we have so much fighting? And it's because the human being has abused the freedom that God has given him. You know the human intellect that you have, this thing that sits up here? The human intellect didn't start first. What starts first is your nature. And Allah made your nature to submit to the intellect, to submit to the inner life. See this body here, this body, these hands, they move, I'm opening my hands are submitted to my mind. If I don't think it, my hands won't open. If I don't think it, my head won't turn. So my physical body has been given to me by Allah to submit to my intellect. But I didn't have the use of my intellect at first. The first thing that I had use of was the physical nature. Nature was operating before I had any control over my body with my mind. And Allah made this human body to yield to the will of the individual. Allah made your body to be the servant of the intellect. And because of that, man abuses the power of free thought. And he makes the physical body to do what is against its nature. And I'll tell you like this. I met persons that said, I know what you're telling me right, but I can't stop smoking these cigarettes. I know what you're telling me is right, but I can't stop drinking this alcohol. I can't stop snorting this cocaine. They tell me these things. I meet them all the time. I'm a doctor, so I meet them oftentimes. They tell me. And I tell them, you can stop anything you want to stop. You have the willpower. Allah has given you the willpower. And in point of fact, Allah makes you to have the ability to stop every night. Every time you go to sleep, you have stopped any wrong that you have done. And Allah has made you have sleep for that reason, to remind you that you have the ability to control those areas of your life that you think you have lost or don't have control of. What you're out on there now, my phone is so bad that. And we made your sleep restful. Most of us think that sleep is only for rejuvenation, to give me energy, because I'm tired. No, sleep is deeper than that. Sleep is to remind you that you have the control over any sin that has been introduced into your life. Even though you have become addicted to it, you have the power over the addiction. And Allah gives you that power. I can prove this with any alcoholic, with anybody that has any addictive problem. I can prove it to him and to you. The minute he goes to sleep, commits no more sin. Allahu Akbar. And how many of us have understood sleep like that? Sleep is a gift from Allah to let you know that you have the power to stop any wrong. It's not so much that you go to sleep biologically. Allah makes you go to sleep consciously so you can do no more wrong. Takbir. This is Islamic theology. So you understand everything about your life, every aspect life is a miracle from God. Allah. You never heard somebody talk about sleep like that before, have you? I know. And the person that has these bad addictions, they told me, I know you're right, Brother Nasir, but I can't stop. I've been doing this too long. You see? And I tell them, every now and then, the nature reminds you of a time when you didn't have that problem. Your own nature. It reminds you. And it tell you, we didn't do that. There was a time when we didn't do none of these things. The nature of the human being. It speaks to us, the Lord. Now I want to say right quickly something for our listeners. In college, if you ever went to college, you studied a course and they told you these terms. They told you the id in college, the libido in college, and the superego. I'm giving these intellectual people something who think religion has no wisdom. Religion is for the dummies. Religion is for the mystics. And you college people who are listening to me, the id, the libido, the id, the ego, and the libido are concepts in the secular world that they took out of religion. They took it from religion. Man didn't come up with this on his own. He got this from the prophets. And I want to prove this to you right now. And some of you Muslims, I guess maybe this will help you. I know you don't have problems with religion, but maybe you're not familiar with the language, how to see our language and the wisdom in religion in the secular world. They call it the id. I'm talking about not Muslims, non-Muslims. They call it the id, and they say this is a troublesome nature for man. Id, ID. If you go to college, you know what I'm talking about. You know where the id comes from? I'm talking to Muslims now. You know where that concept comes from? It comes from the concept in your religion, Eid. And you have two Eids in Islam. The Eid after the fast of Ramadan, and the Eid after the 9th day of Hajj, the 10th day. The Eid, right? Two Eids. Now some of you, your faces are smiling, your heads are shaking again, because you say, wow, yeah, I can see that. They stole from your religion, from Moses and Jesus, and took it into the secular world for control. It's control. And they enamor the masses with these terms as though this man is so great in his intellect. So what is the Eid? The id. I'm now speaking not to Muslims, I'm speaking to them. What is the id? I'm giving you religious insight now. The id is a natural principle. The id, ID, is the earliest workings in the intellect. They're not going to tell you this in college. Nature has a behavioral direction, and that behavioral direction stood man up before any classical education. I see you going to sleep on me, most of you. And I'm not just talking to African Americans either. Maybe you're tired, but at least you're here. And your ears is open, so it's going to go on your subconscious mind, though your conscious mind is asleep. But most of us, we stand for prayer. We're going to admit we're going to stand just like this here. Allahu Akbar. You call it Qiyam. I have no idea what Qiyam is. Qiyam is the same thing. Qiyam means Allah stood man up with the virtues in nature before Allah even gave the man scripture. Man was standing before he had the Bible, before he had the Torah, before he had the Quran. Man was standing. This is your Qiyam, like this here. And in Qiyam, Allah is telling you through Muhammad the Prophet that before you got the Quran, Allah, I stood you up like this. He bound you off a floor. 2 hands, 2 legs like an animal. I stood you up on 2 and made you stand in a dignified position. And after dignity, what did Allah give us? He gave us enlightenment. He gave us education. What's the enlightenment and education? You're standing in Salat like this. No idea what we're doing. In this position, you're reciting the Quran. In this position, you can't recite anything except Quran. And what is Quran? It's enlightenment. It's education. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaqa. Read. Education. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaqa. Khalaqa al-insana min 'alaq. Iqra wa rabbuka al-akram. Education. Allama insan bil kalam. And taught man by the pen. What is that? Education. So in Salat like this, you're reciting Quran, but you're being educated. Allah Akbar. Takbir. Oh man, I had no idea that's what we were doing in our Salat. I'm thinking that this is just some blind thing, some blind ritual. No. The Quran is the highest form of education for humanity. Allah Akbar. No mathematics, no medicine, no chemistry is higher than the Quranic text. And I prove it to you. I'm talking to the listeners now. I've been to medical school 10 years, and I went to college 4 years. So I don't know, I've been in education, I don't know how many years. I have some textbooks at my house. I got one textbook this thick. And when you open the textbook up, it has listings of how many times the textbook has been edited. The edition of the textbook. First edition was 1958, next one is 1960, the next one is 1970. I mean, it's constantly been edited. You see? First edition, second edition, third edition, 13th. This is a big serious medical book that I have that many doctors respect. You know what edition means? It means we didn't know what the hell we were doing. That's what it meant. And if you got any book, any textbook, I don't care what kind of textbook it is, and it's a serious work, you open it up, you'll find addition, meaning that they didn't know what they were doing. When you open up the Quran, you will see no addition, because it's a perfect book without mistake, without error. And that's why when you stand and make Salat, you cannot recite mathematics, you cannot recite chemistry, because there's too many errors in that knowledge. Takbir. Allah Akbar. Yes. And the book is so powerful, till you don't need a choir. You don't need an organ. See, when you don't have pure truth, you need all kind of help. Allah Akbar. I hope that you understand what's being said to you. Allah Akbar. In the Quran it says, Allah Allama Adama. Allama Adama. Allah. Allama Adama. I hope I'm saying it right. Allah, God, Allama, He taught Adama. I know my Arabic is right. He taught Adam. Okay? The inheritance for the human being. What is his wealth? What is he supposed to have? You listen to me very well, very deeply. The inheritance and the right for the human being is knowledge. The first thing God gave Adam was knowledge. I hope I'm making this very clear to you. And I'm saying this to the Americans, mainly in this country, because we have been hoodwinked to believe that we are supposed to pay for education. And many of you're going to be sending your children to college, to medical school, and you have no idea that you are not supposed to pay for education. Education is supposed to be free. Allah Akbar. Adam didn't pay a dime. God gave him that for free. And I remember 20, 30, 40 years ago when you didn't pay anything for education. And if we're not careful, we'll be paying for education in elementary school and in high school, because this is a greedy nation with people who care not for the common man. All they care about is lining their pockets. I'm giving you your religion and taking the spookism out of it. Adama. And Allah taught Adam. Which means what? Now I hope that they give this talk to those in Congress. Congress needs to establish a moratorium. No more educational loans. This got to stop. This is wrong. So, ma'am, this is not a Juma'ah football. This is a Juma'ah football. You got millions of people who owe thousands of dollars. They owe $50, are used because of greedy bankers to enslave the poor man and the poor woman.